There are moments in life when everything changes. A single phone call, a doctor's quiet sigh, a split-second decision that can never be undone. For Walter Hartwell White, that moment came on an ordinary Tuesday in a fluorescent-lit examination room, when a man in a white coat told him his lungs were filling with death. The diagnosis was a detonation, silent but catastrophic. Stage 3 lung cancer, inoperable. 2 years left, maybe less. And as Walter sat in his battered Pontiac Aztek afterward, gripping the steering wheel with trembling hands, the walls of his carefully constructed life began to crumble. Walter had always been a man of precision, a brilliant chemist reduced to teaching disinterested teenagers, his potential smothered by the slow suffocation of mediocrity. But now, with death whispering in his ear, something inside him fractured. The quiet resentment he'd carried for years, toward his wasted intellect, his financial struggles, even the pitying glances people gave his disabled son coalesced into something darker, something desperate. He couldn't tell Skylar not yet. The words lodged in his throat every time he opened his mouth. Instead, he watched her from the doorway of their modest home, her pregnant belly rounding under her shirt as she folded laundry. The weight of his silence pressed down on him like a physical thing. That night, lying stiffly beside her, Walter stared at the ceiling and calculated. Medical bills, mortgage payments, the cost of raising a newborn. The numbers spiraled. Impossible. And then, a memory flickered. A news segment about methamphetamine, the obscene profits, the chemical purity required. His fingers twitched against the sheets. Fate, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humor. Days later, while riding along on a DEA ride-along with his brother-in-law Hank, a man whose blustering confidence only underscored Walter's own inadequacy, he spotted a familiar face fleeing a drug bust. Jesse Pinkman, his former student, a former student whose name Walter had long associated with wasted potential. A kid who'd written, "The periodic table is a lie," on an exam once. Now fleeing a meth house in his boxers. Yet as Walter watched, Jesse vanished into the scrubland, an idea took root. It was reckless, unthinkable. And yet, the logic was irrefutable. Jesse had connections. Walter had knowledge. Together, they could make something extraordinary. Something profitable. The Jesse who answered the door was a far cry from the cocky teenager Walter remembered. Gaunt, jumpy. His eyes darted like a cornered animal's. When Walter uttered his proposal, slow, deliberate, each word a stone dropped, into still water. Jesse's laughter was high-pitched, tinged with hysteria. But beneath the fear, Walter saw it. Hunger. The same hunger gnawing at his own ribs. The desert at night was a vast, indifferent witness. Inside the rattling RV, Walter's hands moved with the precision of a concert pianist, measuring, pouring, transforming base ingredients into something luminous. The blue crystals that formed were unlike anything on the streets, not just a drug, but a testament to his skill, his mastery. For the first time in years, he felt alive. Jesse gaped, equal parts awe and terror. This wasn't the shaky, apologetic Mr. White he'd known. This man was ice and certainty, his voice low and relentless as he outlined their business plan. The dichotomy was jarring. The meek high school teacher and the calculating strategist were one and the same. But the desert had eyes. Their first sale went smoothly. Too smoothly. The dealer, a wiry man named Crazy 8, examined their product with something like reverence. Yet, as Walter pocketed the cash, his fingers brushed against the gun he'd been carrying, just in case. High school chemistry teacher was being pressed by two dangerous drug dealers at gunpoint. Every textbook equation, every lecture about molecular bonds. None of it mattered in this heartbeat where his life could end with a twitch of a meth-addicted finger. The emotions he must have felt could not be described by words. But when he spoke, his voice didn't shake. I can show you the real formula. His fingers twitched toward the components, calculating trajectories, evaporation rates, lethal dosages. The fear didn't vanish. It transformed into something sharper, more dangerous. The fear became the knife he would turn on his attackers. Violence, when it came, was swift and brutal. A deal gone wrong. 2 men dead, by Walter's own hand. The rationalizations came later. Self-defense, survival. But in that moment, there was only the deafening silence and the copper tang in his mouth. Back in his classroom the next day, Walter chalked equations onto the board with mechanical precision. His students scribbled notes, oblivious. How easy it was, he realized, to wear the mask of normalcy, to smile at Skylar over dinner, to ruffle Walter Jr.'s hair. The lies settled into his bones like radiation, silent and cumulative. And yet when his phone buzzed with Jesse's latest panic, when he slipped into the alley behind the car wash to answer, his pulse kicked up not with fear, but anticipation. The cancer was still there, still spreading. But so was the blue. And as long as he could cook, he could control something, even if it was just the manner of his own destruction. Walter White had spent a lifetime playing by the rules. Now, with death looming, he'd discovered a terrible truth. Rules were fragile things. They could be bent, broken. And as he stood at the precipice of his new life, one question remained. Not whether he would fall, but how far.